If you're watching this video, it probably needs no introduction, so I'll keep things short. I have 8 of the most popular 200 treadwear track-focused tyres, possibly the most epic test car I've ever used, access to Michelin's Lawrence Proving Ground in South Carolina, which has a very fast, high-grip dry handling lap, and I'm going to take each set of tyres out for dry handling to tell you exactly which tyre is fastest, which tyre has the best balance, which tyre has the best steering response, and perhaps most importantly, which tyre is easiest to drive at the limit, which gives you the most confidence. So if you're hitting an autocross track or a track you're not used to, which tyre will allow you to get up to speed the quickest? So it's not just about outright lap time, it's also about drivability in these kind of tyres. To keep things as fair as possible and to get the data exactly where I want it to be, I also have 3 brand new sets of control tyres, which means I run a tyre at the very start, the same tyre in the middle, and the same tyre at the end to calculate my own driver evolution, car evolution, and track evolution with temperature. So that means this data will be the most perfect data that data can be. I don't think there's anywhere else on the internet that's done it quite this accurately. On test, we have the BF Goodrich Rival S1.5, Cooper RS3 RS, Dunlop Direza Z3, Falcon Azensis RT660, Hankook Ventus RS4, Kumho Ester V730, Maxxis Victra VR1, and the Yokohama Advan A052. Unfortunately, there's no Bridgestone because they have discontinued the RE71R in North America with no replacement due, no new Continental or Nexen due to stock timings, and no Toyo as the R888R is the 100 treadwear tyre and the R1R is an old pattern now. Now all that said and done, let's go find out which tyre is the fastest and which is the best to drive. This is how cars should sound. Now I've struggled with how I was going to present all this data to you. I did think about doing each lap with you, but at 90-second lap, that's over 10 minutes of me just driving around in a circle, probably not that exciting. I've done my fast laps, obviously I had a helmet on and safety gear, hands and everything. I've got a cage, I've got a harness, so with the helmet and the noise of the car at the limit, it just wasn't possible to talk to you. So what I'm going to do now is talk about the subjective handling of the tyres and then go and work out, because we've just finished the test, then go and work out exactly who was fastest. Now a subjective judgment of a tyre isn't just about raw speed, it's about how drivable the tyre is, how good the communication through the steering is, how good the steering response is, whether there's any delay. I'm sure you've experienced it on road tyres on track where you steer and you get that kind of like steer and then it sort of sits on the fight side, what's the lateral stiffness of the tyre. So there were essentially 3 groups of tyres. None of them were awfully bad, but there were definitely some that were better than others. The last of the tyres was the Cooper and Maxxis. Now, as I've said, neither of these tyres were particularly bad, but what you did have in both these sets of tyres was quite a lot of understeer. And the Cooper, I even put in my notes, I was like, lots of understeer, doesn't feel fast, but probably quite a good tyre for a beginner, because you could really throw the car into a corner and not have to worry about the back coming around or anything like that. It was stable. The next group of tyres was Dunlop, Hankook and Kumho. Now, all these tyres were, I mean, they were enjoyable, but they all left me again wanting a little bit more on the front axle. They all had a little bit too much understeer, not as much as the previous 2, but they had understeer. And the directness of the steering and the speed and the dartiness and just the positivity of the tyre wasn't quite there. The Hankook and Dunlop were very similar. The Dunlop felt like it had quite a good first lap advantage and then heat got to it a little bit, whereas the Hankooks felt very, very stable, so perhaps a good one for some sort of endurance racing series. The Kumho, I don't really understand this tyre. It's the only tyre of the bunch I haven't quite worked out. It's got that massive outer shoulder block, which makes it look very aggressive and very track orientated, and that tyre didn't seem to heat out at all, so it had no first hero lap, but it was just stable and stable and stable. So maybe the Kumho is one of those tyres that really, really likes being warm. I don't know if it was fast either, because the laps kind of felt a little bit scruffy. It didn't feel like my best driving, but that's because I wasn't quite getting what I needed from the tyre to really do my best driving as I was with some of the other sets. Just a little bit unpredictable. But I'm talking very small amounts here compared to a very, very close group. So, I mean, Kumho's still a good tyre. The final group was the BF Goodrich, Falcon and Yoko. Now, the BF Goodrich was a strong tyre. This tyre felt very fast. It felt like it had excellent lateral grip. excellent on the brakes, this really rounded grip circle that you could lean on, and it was enjoyable tyre to drive. The Falcon, conversely, I'd say the Falcon felt the best on the brakes. We're not doing any braking tests for this test, which I know is unusual for me, but this is a track shootout. But the Falcon felt like it was very good on the brakes. It was good laterally as well, still very good laterally, and just an easy tyre to drive fast. Gave you confidence like the BF Goodrich. Perhaps it couldn't be manhandled quite as much as the BF Goodrich, but it was still a very good tyre. And the Yokohama, the AO52, this tyre just felt a little bit more delicate than the BF and the Falcon. It felt like it had maybe a slightly less lateral stiffness. It sit on the sidewall a little bit more. And I think it was a little bit lighter to steer, but it was friendly. Of the three, it was perhaps, if you're not the most confident driver in the world, the Yoko is the one you would pick, because it just gave you time and confidence to deal with everything the car was doing. So those three tyres were definitely my favourite. I'm hoping they're around the fastest. They certainly felt around the fastest. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to lap times during the test, and I haven't calculated the evolution of the tyres. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to finish driving this car, sadly, and then we're going to calculate the evolution of the track and the driving and the car and everything, which I don't think was a lot for this test, which is great, and then work out who was fastest and talk about the final times. And one last time, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this properly, but what a noise. As I mentioned at the start, with this many sets on tyres on test, we were testing for 7 hours, and during that time there was a 5-degree air and 17-degree track temperature progression, which was measured exactly 0.5 seconds from start to finish. It gets slower as it gets hotter, so that's been calculated in order to keep everything as exact and as fair as possible, because we want this to be right. Also, there are multiple ways I can order the final results. I've chosen to order the times by the average time of the first 3 laps of a 7-lap run, as that's how we usually do dry handling results. However, I am also going to include the fastest lap time, so if you're sprinting, you know exactly what you can expect over a single lap. And I ran the top 3 tyres again the next day for a further 8 laps to see how they are once heat cycled over a longer run, because I think this is all important information. I'll also put the worn tread depth data on the screen, but be warned, it's not super accurate as it's difficult to measure with both pickup and flaring, especially on some of the faster tyres. So if there's any unusual wear worth talking about, I will. And on the subject of wear, please keep in mind that the 2-mile Michelin dry handling circuit is an extremely high grip surface, which gives accelerated wear characteristics. The slowest tyre of the day was the Cooper RS3 RS with a 90.4 second fastest and a 91.063 lap average. This tyre had a safe balance with lots of understeer, and it does look the freshest tyre here, but it is the only tyre here with the 220 tread wear instead of 200. The high levels of understeer definitely cost it time, as did the lack of lateral grip. And as you can tell with the 0.66 difference between the fastest and the 3-lap average, it has relatively poor heat management, which means as it gets hotter, it starts to overheat and drops time quite quickly. It was the only tyre here with a noticeable tread pattern noise, especially when cornering, and it sounded like a wheel bearing had failed on the car, but obviously the wheel bearings are fine because this car is astonishingly perfect. Why don't they build them like this anymore? The Maxxis Victra VR1 was a little faster over 3 laps at 90.95, but the first lap was a little bit slower than the Cooper at 90.53. That means its heat management was slightly better. Other than that, the 2 tyres felt very similar with plenty of understeer, which isn't something I particularly enjoy. The Kumo Ester V730 was next to the 89.58 fastest and 89.8 average. This tyre was much happier being hot than the previous 2 tyres and had little drop in time from first to last laps. Surprisingly, given these massive outer shoulder blocks, it didn't have the best steering response or feedback of the test. And while it's hard to tell with this tread pattern, it does actually look like it's wearing pretty well because these 2 grooves still have plenty of meat, even if this looks a bit slick. The Dunlop Direza Z3 posted an 89.16 fastest and 89.73 average, which, like the Cooper, meant it had quite a big first hero lap, then it dropped as it got hot. However, it was a really lovely tyre to drive with good steering response and less understeer than these previous 3 tyres, which is something I value and something I think everyone on track should. Finally, of the bottom 5, the Hankook Ventus RS4 finished it down an 89.22 fastest, which is slightly slower than the Dunlop's fastest lap, but the heat management was better, so the 3-lap average was faster at 89.63. It felt very similar to the Dunlop, both being nice tyres to drive with good steering response. and rounded grip circles, which is important. The Hankook also looks like it's doing very well in wear of the bunch, so perhaps one to think about if you're doing longer endurance races. These 3 tyres are the fastest 3 tyres from the day, and if you look at them, you probably think, yikes, compared to the previous 5. Remember, these have done the extra 8 laps. The previous 5 tyres, I had the left front, which is the tyre that gets used the hardest, and for these I've brought both the left rear and the left front, so it's left rear, left front, left rear, left front, left rear, left front. While the extra 8 laps does give us an extra data point, it doesn't change the final results in any way, which is nice, so the fastest is still the fastest. In third place is the Yokohama Advan A052, posting an 88.84 fastest, an 89.30 average for the 3 laps, and an 89.25 8 laps, so essentially the same. The Yokohama was a really friendly tyre to drive, and while it wasn't quite as firm laterally as the top 2, I think this is probably a really good tyre for a beginner or a less experienced track driver, as it instills confidence. It did, however, have really peaky first lap grip, dropping a lot of time in both its runs as it got hot, and of the top 3 tyres that did the extra 8 laps, this is the only one I probably wouldn't do any more laps on, as the front left, it started to blister at points, which I don't think you can see, and the back, it's pretty much on the tread markers, so these are probably at the limit. The Falken Azensis RT660 didn't have the peaky first lap grip of the Yokohama, but it still posted a faster 88.34 first lap, 88.53 3 lap, and 89.23 8 lap average. The steering was precise and consistent, the braking was extremely strong on these tyres, and it was one of the most enjoyable tyres to drive all round. The second long run it did the next day was particularly impressive once it had been heat cycle. It essentially had no heat degradation at all, which is mega impressive. With the pickup and flaring, which you can see, I'm not really able to give you a confident answer on wear, but I'd say from the top 3, it probably looks to have the most lap left. Maybe another 4 or 5 laps before you're starting to worry about wear. And finally, the fastest tyre of the day was the BF Goodrich Rival S 1.5, posting an 87.7 fastest lap, 87.9 3 lap, and 88.6 8 lap average. That's around half a second faster than the Falken in all 3 measurements. Insane. Subjectively, the tyre might have lacked a little bit of feedback at large steering angles compared to the Falken, but everywhere else it was a match for it, if not better. Like, really impressive tyre. If you care about 1 lap pace, this is the tyre to pick. And while it perhaps wasn't quite as forgiving as the Yoko, which, let's not forget, was a second a lap slower in 3rd place, it was a tyre that you could really hustle around a lap. I really enjoyed driving it, which was super fun. Its heat management was also amongst the best too. Some understeer did creep in at the end of the second long run, but it didn't really hurt the time too much. And while the Falken might just have the edge in terms of visual wear on the front axle, the rear axle actually looks better on the BF. And as this is not a directional pattern like the others, most of the others, you can rotate these side to side, which meaning on a track day at lunchtime, you could swap them left to right halfway through the day and drastically improve your tread life without having to demount the tyres. So it's something you can do on your own, which is amazing for track work. So that kind of gives you extra longevity over a directional tyre. So there's all the data, use it as you will. I'm sure you'll have your own favorites that I've missed out, so let me know why I should include them next time, or why my data's wrong, or why your experience is different. They're all valid, everyone's opinions and experiences are valid, so I'd love to read them. Thanks once again to Michelin for helping out. Amazing facility, the most perfect car in the world. Any questions, please do ask below, and as always, safe motoring.